Actually, I was working in Orlando, and a gentleman that worked up here, a truck driver that works up here, told me, Barb, you need to come and check out what's going on in Williston. And I'm like, what's going on in Williston?
Located in the northwestern corner of North Dakota, surrounded by remote prairies and treeless bluffs, the town of Williston is ground zero for the new oil boom. In a state with fewer total residents than the Jacksonville metro area, Williston is now the fastest growing small city in America. It's the epicenter of a modern-day gold rush, a destination for tens of thousands of workers desperate for jobs, and a town struggling to absorb it all.
We thought it would get busy, but I don't think anybody realized how busy it would get. It's just very, very intense.
The big attraction is jobs. The city has an unemployment rate of less than 1% and salaries that defy what most people earning minimum wage can imagine.
I don't think minimum wage exists in Williston. I mean, minimum wage here is probably $15 an hour. If you don't pay $15 an hour, you're really not going to get anybody in.
Those kinds of wages have proven a powerful magnet for Floridians who saw their fortunes crushed by the recession and the collapse of the housing market. Such was the case for Ivan Ghetto, a former mortgage broker from Fort Lauderdale who lost everything in the economic downturn.
And it was a nightmare because I went through everything. I ended up with nothing. Then real problems started, you know, not having money to pay basic bills.
So, like thousands of others, Ghetto joined the mass migration in northwestern North Dakota, where a vast underground oil reserve called the Bakken is being tapped. Once thought inaccessible, trapped in shale rock 2 miles below the surface, Bakken oil is being extracted by a process called hydraulic fracturing, or fracking. The process involves shattering the rock with a high-pressure blast of water and sand and allowing the oil to flow from the broken cracks before being pumped to the surface. The Bakken's oil reserves are massive, estimated to hold between 4 and 24 billion barrels, and most observers think the supply will last another 10 to 20 years. But keeping up with growth has put incredible strain on Williston. There are lines everywhere. Roads are congested, and nowhere is the pressure more intense than on the supply of available housing.
You kind of choose to be homeless for a moment. They had a 1-bedroom, 1 bath. I guess it would be equivalent to maybe a studio in Florida. And they were asking $3,000 for that a month. And then I realized something, that was cheap.
I love walking in the store.
It's one person, it's $3,000. If it's 2 people,
Barbara Heilich eventually lucked into the basement apartment she shares with her daughter for just $600 a month.
He like, do you want it or don't?
But she realizes how unusual that is.
You would rent this room, would have 2 twin beds, and you're gonna pay $900 per bed.
Most aren't so fortunate. A space at this RV camp goes for $800 a month plus utilities, and you have to have an RV. Bitter winds and sub-zero temperatures mean residents have to enclose and insulate the campers to keep their pipes from freezing. Even then, conditions are crowded and harsh.
You know, 40-foot RV and a family of 5. We have a lot of families up here. My wife and the 3 kids and the husband, all living in 40-foot trailer. It makes it difficult.
Beth Bartell manages the Fox Run RV park just north of Williston. Every day, she says, she turns away people looking for a place to live.
And I've had women come in here and plead with me for, they have 3 kids, they're living in a cornfield. No water, no sewer, no electric. Because there's no vacancies.
Others end up living in so-called man camps. These compounds have sprouted like grain once did on these former farmlands, offering basic room and board to employees who work 12-hour shifts 7 days a week. Rooms at the man camps are typically paid for, at least in part, by the oil companies in need of workers. And for some, particularly the young men who make up the majority of residents, it's a great setup. That's the case for Troy Michler of Jacksonville, a cook at Bear Paw Lodge Man Camp.
I make twice the money, minimum twice the money that I could make doing what I do there.
Like most of the other employees here, Troy works 84 hours a week for 6 weeks in a row, followed by 2 weeks off.
I have no bills here whatsoever. They pay for all of my lodging. They pay for all of my food. God, we eat steaks all the time. We literally eat whatever we want to eat, do whatever we want to do, and I bank 95% of what I make, I bank.
There's really not a whole lot to do either, too, and especially in the winter, because you come to work, it's dark, you get off work, it's dark. Yeah, it's like you get a truck today.
The arrangement works for Jason Roy of Tallahassee, who moved here to pay off his massage school loan. But the work is too grueling for some. Charles Blust from St. Petersburg has put in 5,000 hours in the past year, about 2.5 times a normal full-time job. And he's made good money.
You know, I came up here with hardly anything, you know, financially, and I'm leaving, and I've got well over, you know, $20,000 saved up, so.
But money alone isn't enough, and Charles is worn out. In December, he decided to leave Williston and return home to Florida.
The rate of turnover is a little high because people think, you know, that's all they think about is the money. And they come up here and they don't realize the work that you have to put into it. You know, it's cold up here, so it's hard. You know, I'm from Florida, I come from a real hot state, and come up here, you know, the frozen tundra, it's just, you know, it's difficult.